Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson. This is lesson 33, and we are doing open-ended questions. You've already done some comprehension with Mr. Osborne, and I'm sure that it has been very handy and it has helped you a lot. But what we're going to do here are our open-ended questions. We're going to have 2 lessons. Remember, at the end, we have a quiz. And I want you to make sure that you are ready for the quiz. I'm Mrs. Swart, and I'll take you through the lesson. Okay, so open-ended questions in comprehension tests or response to tests is very simple. These are the questions that you don't just simply say yes or no, or I agree or I disagree. You have to give it some body. You have to explain. So it's not something like, how old are you? And you say, oh, I'm 15 or I'm 14. Or like me, I'm 21. Nothing like that. It's going to have a little bit more body to it. But you must remember, yes and no, and agree or disagree must still make out part of this lesson or of your response in this case. Now, a little later on, you're going to get the material for tomorrow's lesson so that you can go and study it. Very short, very simple, just to assist you when you have to do the quiz after that. Okay, so our open-ended questions attempt to make you, that is now the person writing the exam, to answer the questions with a more detailed or elaborate response. Now, what does that mean? Very simply, you have to give it some body. You have to embroider on your response. You have to explain why you have given this response. For open-ended questions, you must remember that they're not going to give you any marks for just a yes or a no, or agree or disagree. But it's about the reason, it's about the substantiation, it's about the motivation. So what they really want from you is to explain why you get to that answer. You have to, it's not just about finding it in the text. So it's not your level 1 and 2 question. And it has to be in context. Why do I say that? Very simply, you might know a lot about gardening. The next person doesn't. And the passage might be about gardening. So what will happen is this. You will want to say more. You want everyone to know just how much you know about gardening. But that's not what this is about. It's about what you find within this passage and what you can answer within the passage. So have a look and make sure that you can answer that. I've given you an example of a marking guideline for the simple reason I want you to understand why you get marks. It's open-ended. And you'll see it, they say consider any valid responses. So, for example, they've given you 3 possible responses for 2 marks. But what they want you to do is to remember that they will give you marks for different responses, different answers. And that will only happen if you can explain something, if you can give us a little bit more information, and if you can justify. Justify means I can prove to you why I have given that specific answer. To get full marks, you are going to have to make sure that your response is well substantiated. In other words, you're going to have to make sure that you explain everything clearly so that remember, the marker knows nothing. You have to make sure they know and understand. So you can score 1 mark, or if it's not very well explained, or you can get full marks, which could be 2 or 3 marks here. The types of question, yeah, we're looking at your levels 3, 4, and 5 of Barrett's taxonomy. And oh yes, a surprise for you. Guess what? Your opinion can be wrong. And now you're thinking, but if they ask me my opinion, how's it possible that it could be wrong? Very simply, you have to form your opinion from the text that you've been given, from the comprehension. So you have to explain from that. And that is why your opinion can be wrong. How does these are the sorts of questions. How does the metaphor affect your understanding? What do you think? Or do you think? They might ask you what you think. Do you agree with something? In your view or opinion. They would then want to know your opinion. And remember what I said, your opinion can be wrong. You must be very careful about that, because it's not just simply that's what I think. Why do I think that? Prove it from the text. Prove it from what I've been given. and discuss your response or comment on things. Did you notice most of these are thinking questions? They're asking you, what do you think about something? And that is really important here, is for you to take note of that. Now, this is for our next lesson, and you're all thinking, oh, how ridiculous. You all know the story of the 3 little pigs, and if you don't, find out briefly what it's about for tomorrow's lesson, because the questions that I'm going to be giving you tomorrow and what we're going to discuss for open-ended questions is going to have to do with the 3 little pigs, but also with another passage. So have a look at the picture. You will get this and you'll be able to go and look again and remind yourself of what happened in the 3 little pigs, because even though it seems silly, tomorrow I'll tell you a little bit about the story again, and then we'll do some open-ended questions. Now, here's something about sport. And the reason this is here is to make sure that no one feels left out, that you all say, okay, my sport is included, I'm very happy. Because we're going to look at a short passage on sport, and that will also be used for the open-ended questions tomorrow. The text says this: sport unites people by allowing them to see past racial lines through their shared passions and desires. It allows individuals from different racial backgrounds, but who support the same team, to bond over a shared interest and a common passion. Now have a look at this. Maybe you'll have a chance to copy it down, that you don't have to rely on your memory. I've tried to put in a little bit of all our teams. But this is not what your quiz is about today. Your quiz is about what you need to remember about the rules of an open-ended question. Remember that it's not about just a simple yes or no. You have to substantiate. That's a big word for I have to explain, I have to justify, I have to prove. It's all about proving why you say something. And rather say too much than too little. Look at how many marks there are. You have to look at things like what has been asked, so that you make sure that you don't miss out on this. And remember, these are recorded, so you will be able to go and look at the video again to make sure that you remember exactly what it is that you need to respond to. And then, of course, what do I say? Practice makes perfect. You're going to click on the link below to complete the exercise, or you can use the QR code on the next slide. So you can have a look at that and make sure that you try this quiz and that you do your very best, because that is all we really want you to do, is to make sure you do your very best. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for today.